So I'd say Angel Studios releases about 2 or 3 movies a year. This one, Bonhoeffer or Bonhoeffer, I don't know. I'm not German, but he's a pastor, a spy, and an assassin. Do they go through all 3 of those congruently in this film? Let's find out. Chase Lehocky here with the blue futon with his horrible hair, reviewing Bonhoeffer. So what's about pretty simple premise? We do have a boy in Germany during Nazism time, so 39, 40s in that time frame. But we are kind of going through his childhood, his college days in the States and New York City, as well as other occurrences in Germany and England. And we're going to try to figure out how he was as a pastor, how he was as a spy, and how he was as an assassin. And does this movie deliver his life's message? I think so. I think it's well-crafted looking movie. I think it's a very professionally well-made film. But I think when the credits roll, I know it's kind of a anti-Semitic movie. What I'm talking about is like how much Jewish violence is going on in the world right now with the pro-Palestine stuff and things like that, and the October 7th Hamas attack. But when the credits rolled, I felt a little empty inside from the actual movie-going experience. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good experience, but I just think it was very surface level that I was a little bit bummed of like not knowing a little bit more information. Because what's positive about this film? Like I said, with a look at the film, you could tell you're in Europe, you could tell you're at these sites, and it just looks like I am aesthetically in Harlem in 1930s or 1920s. I am in Germany at this time frame. I am in England in these time frames. And the costumes and the cosmetics looks of this film, the production design really pops out where you're like, nope, this truly looks like this is old school stuff and it's a lower budget movie. So I give it props for doing what it can with his budget. The acting, pretty damn good as well. As you will recognize some actors in this movie as well. Of like, okay, I know him, he does a good job. I know him, he does a good job. And just the overall supporting cast as well does support the Bonhoeffer, the main guy, doing it in charge. The story itself, this is where I think it might falter just a little bit when it comes to the pastor, spy, and assassin. Because people are going to see this as Angel Studios and they're going to assume, Christian movie. False. The point of this film is the church turning its back to God because of Hitler. And if you didn't know that, the church at the time, of course, between politics and the church, but Hitler, purposely took the cross out of church, purposely wrote his own Bible, added 2 commandments to the 10 commandments of basically there is only one Hitler, basically, and you should be pure-blooded. So there's things that I didn't know about during this time frame. So I did learn information about how him kind of just confused with what the church is doing and how he's a pastor and how he's like, how can I continue on living my life as it is? Because it starts off with him as a kid with a strawberry. That's all I'm going to say about invisibility, and it does do a full circle. Then him in college in Harlem. And I thought that was an interesting aspect because he's kind of the naivety of being from another country coming over. I think that's a very solid thing because like I said, I've been to Africa, been in Niger for 6-8 months, and it was a culture shock as well, being the only white guy. So it's kind of the vice versa of him being the only white guy in Harlem, being this, like, learning jazz, going to this own Baptist church, what he's not used to. And, just him assuming that there is no racial tensions at this time. And there are some good elements where that does get brought up, especially in DC at this time. So very fascinating information. Then we kind of fast forward to, he's kind of like the whole naivety of like, nah, people are smart enough. They will, disavow the Nazism. And they're like, you've been gone for a little bit too long. People kind of gravitas towards this thing where it's like, oh, I don't want to go against the the salmon going against the freaking, current. I don't want to go against the current. I'm just going to go Heil Hitler and things like that, where it's just like, yeah, maybe you should question it. And he does question it. And that's where it starts getting interesting, in my opinion, because the assassination plot and him actually fighting the church of like these priests as well as bishops of like, what are we doing? This is not right. And them kind of like be conflicted of, do we follow Hitler or do we kind of just, follow God's words because, the house of God, this is all about God's words. So that's very interesting. So when it comes to the pastor part, I do think you get an insight of what he somewhat believed in. The spy part, I mean, there are elements where he would go to UK and say some things on the behalf of, like, you would say, the resistance of Germany, as well as, in Switzerland, which proves that maybe Switzerland isn't a neutral country as is. Maybe there's a reason why there's all the banks there. That's all I'm going to say. So the spy part, there's some things here and there, and he tried to do that at the States. But then when he goes back to the States, he tries to, like, get the congregation of the black church, and they're kind of saying, like, hey, we're not sucked in just yet, because it's not actually in the States. We have our own issues over here. So, yeah, an assassin part. Again, it's like for me because he was part of the ploy to maybe, like, help with the assassination, and that's all he was. He was basically the driver's seat. I wouldn't even say he was the driver's seat. He was the passenger of the passenger. Like, it's a third row Durango. You have the guy driving who actually, like, thought of the plot. You have the passenger seat guy that actually has the bombs in his, being a suicide bomber. Then you have the two people in, like, the middle row seat that's, like, doing the logistics. And you have the third guy who's, like, barely part of the plot, but he's kind of there to, like, for support. And that's what it felt like he was there for the whole assassination attempt. So, like I said, it just felt like a little bit hollow or narrow when the overall movie was said and done. But like I said, overall, though, Bonhoeffer, it does give you new information about what was happening during this time. Some people might get somewhat turned off with the whole ending, saying, like, the ACLU or something, or the ADL said this is the worst time for Jews for, hate groups and things like that. So you're just like, okay, I understand that you want to, like, do a full circle with what is happening right now. But I don't know. It just felt, I want to say cheap, but it was like, okay, I understand what you're going for. But I want to focus on, kind of like the real pain and other movies that have done it this year. That Liam Dunham movie as well called, I already forgot that one anyway. So yes, good movie, good looking movie, well acted. But I just think the script and getting to know him as a whole left me a little bit underwhelmed and wanting more. So Bonhoeffer, pastor, spy, assassin will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futons, which equals at 70%. So let's see the critics and user scores gave this one. So you have critics 58% with 26 of them. Audience score 91% with over 100. No critic consensus. So there we go. 58, 70, 91. Chase like here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm things Butontopia. You Blue Futonians. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Watch Take tomorrow. Week from month. And you from every single freaking one of you. Peace and love. Peace and love. And yeah. Don't be scared to go against the current if it truly is a worthy cause. And if corporations aren't, like, backing you. Because if a corporation's backing you, like all of them, you're kind of not going against the current anymore.